Hello everybody and welcome back to Mate Night, where we are reviewing films until someone invites us to the Cannes Film Festival.
Come on, do it.
I am your host Jamie, and as always, I am joined by the one and only, it's just Fred.
It's just Fred.
The
winner, the sinner, the chicken dinner.
Oh, I like it. Very nice. Today we're going to rate and review the film Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, and Haley Steinfeld. Released just a couple of weeks ago, it has made £175 million in the global box offices and achieved a commendable 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
Very commendable indeed.
Today we are going to start with a non-spoiler rate and review section, including the fabled Mate Night Machine, to settle on a correct, once and for all, score.
The proper score, yes.
It's never wrong. Then we're going to spend the rest of the episode on spoilers and trivia, so strap in, strap on, and let's talk some Sinners. Sinners, is it really that good? Released 18th of April, this film has achieved $175 million in the box office, 8.2 on IMDb, and 84% on Metacritic. It seems this film is universally loved. Is it justified? Fred and I are going to non-spoiler review it and then finish on a score. If you haven't watched it,
Well
Sinners is a film based in the 1930s Mississippi, starring Michael B. Jordan, Miles Caton, and Haley Steinfeld. It follows two gangster brothers, both played by Michael B. Jordan, returning to their hometown and throwing a party to launch their new bar. But through something strange around music, shit starts to hit the fan.
Yeah, nice.
Is if you haven't watched it,
I'm
is that
happy
everything?
with that. You don't want. Yeah, I'd recommend if you do want to see this, maybe just
Do
go
not
open
look
mind,
into
don't
it
look
at
at too
all.
much.
Okay, so to get things started, gut reaction score. This is our first 2 out of 9 scores. Purely subjective. How much did we enjoy this film? Fred's going first. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
7.9.
8.2.
Ooh,
Very
yeah.
close.
Very close. Okay, difference for me, a difficulty was determining the 7 or 8. That
same.
barrier. Yeah. So I've written down very, very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we know, 8 is great. So that's why it made it easy for 7.9 for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, I figured it. I mentioned to you before what we could kind of go through to break this one down. So I thought I'd start things off with a question for you, Freddie.
Oh, I love questions.
This film marks Ryan Coogler's first wholly original film, having only done franchises like Black Panther and Creed and real-life stories. This obviously raises an interesting question. Has Coogler just released the best musical of the last 5 years?
Oh my God. That is a question. Let me ask you a question in return. Name me a musical in the last 5 years. Wicked. All right.
Snow
I ran
White.
into that.
Joker, Folie à Deux.
Okay. Well, it's better than... No, was it better than Wicked?
It was
Definitely
different.
Definitely not as a musical.
I think maybe the
Also,
point
it
I was
wasn't
trying to
really-
make was
Yeah.
it's a musical and nobody seems to be acknowledging this anywhere. I haven't seen anybody say it. I've looked up the definition of musical, varying strengths from it needs to have music in it, right? Which it does, all the way to like music necessarily must drive the plot. Which it also does. It fit every single definition, and nobody's acknowledging. If you say you hate musicals, you're not allowed to like this film. It's a musical.
It's definitely a weak musical if you are gonna include it in the category. Look, I don't have a strong stance on this, and I feel like you feel strongly.
Snow
that it's
White was a musical, and there were like 4 songs in that.
Yeah, I mean, and the songs don't necessarily have to be original. Some of the songs in this weren't original. Like, Rocky Road to Dublin's one off the top of the head. But then you got things like Mamma Mia. I'd consider that a musical. My definition of a musical then is if the inclusion of songs to drive the plot forward, and some characters are also singing those songs.
Yeah, like the main character.
I'd say that's probably a musical. Although this is a bit of a conglomeration of an assortment of genres, perhaps.
Oh my God, yeah, 100%.
So it's nice they chucked musical in there as well.
It was a bit of a chaotic mishmash of everything, but I thought it would segue us onto the music anyway, because I think like everybody loves this film, and I wonder if part of the reason is because the music in it is just so incredible. I loved the music in it. I thought it was so novel. Like there were scenes where it had like both Metallica sort of music being played with a harmonica at the same time, and like it was completely novel musically, and it created just this energy and this chaotic atmosphere throughout the whole film that was just incredible.
Yeah, that's very true. In terms of how dynamic it was, I'd agree. It for as long-time listeners, all four of you will know, I like musicals, and it's certainly a break away from your traditional musical theatre films. So for me, the music itself, I listened to the soundtrack before, and I appreciated that I was going to enjoy the use of the music in it, particularly how it would add to the atmosphere of the film. And watching the film, the music is amazing in film. It's not the sort of thing I'd listen to on my own typically, although I did have a very enjoyable drive to your neck of the woods the other day in the sun with like, you know, kind of your bluesy chords and your guttural singing, your Pink Moon. It was a good time, but even aside from that, I knew it'd be great in the film, and yeah, it did not disappoint.
Even
at
if
all.
you don't listen to that music a lot, it just worked so well in this film. And like you say, it was so dynamic that it wasn't just bluesy. It was
and a great mix as well. Even so, kind of the more Irish influenced songs, they worked very well as part a piece of the wider puzzle, which I appreciated.
It made a major part of the film, and I thought that the music in it was incredible. I never expected to see. Actually, this is non-spoiler, so I probably won't go down that route, but we mentioned Rocky Road to Dublin as in this.
Yes.
That scene caught me by surprise.
Oh, yeah, is that right?
Well, I'd say, look, yeah, I mean, personally, this is the most untainted I've ever gone into a film, and I'm so glad it was this one.
Yeah.
If you don't know anything about this film, just stop listening and just go watch it like completely untainted, because it's hilarious how just completely off the wall it seems as it progresses into.
I'm interested to see how untainted you actually. The problem with your level of taint is the fact that you can't really say without ruining the experience for other people. So,
well, I knew literally nothing going into the film. Literally nothing. I'd seen a poster at a glance, and that was it. I saw red, and I was like, maybe that was Michael B. Jordan, and that was it. So
I'm going to break a bit from tradition here and say, if anyone is in Two Minds, it's been out quite a while now, but you know, when I went to see it last night, it packed cinema, so it's obviously picking up a lot of traction. If you are in Two Minds and you're considering watching it, maybe just stop listening now.
Agreed.
Go and watch it, because we can then talk to the people who have actually.
So you want to go into spoilers?
No, I'm not saying spoilers, but you know, let's go into a bit of what did you, without spoiling anything specific, what were you surprised by? Were there any elements of the plot that we can say that, you know, most people will know going into?
Okay. Vampires?
Yeah. I think that's fine, because I knew
they were vampires.
I knew enough to
didn't.
Know. Yeah, so I can imagine that being a surprise.
I was a little bewildered. Yeah. Just
okay,
playing it lightly.
As someone who went into it not knowing that there was did you have any idea that there was a supernatural element?
I had read a sentence as well that was like,
well done.
Which was like, oh, two brothers return to their hometown and find not as all as it seems. And I was like, is that supernatural?
The occult, is something going on?
And then obviously it had what I would usually not like in writing, which is that first scene, and then a day earlier. But I actually think that helped frame what was complete and utter shock from what would have been just like sheer bewilderment. If it didn't have that framing scene at the beginning where it kind of went, this is going in that direction eventually, I'd have just been like, that's ridiculous, I'm not enjoying this. But I think it kind of signposted it at the start.
And how did you find the supernatural elements of the film?
I really liked the gimmick, which I know isn't unique to this, where it's like you have to ask for permission to go into the building.
So that's a vampire. That's
a whole vampire thing.
Lore, and not included in every vampire film.
Exactly.
So
and quite a fun element narratively, I thought. So
it was certainly cool, but actually, and this would be spoilers, so I'm not going to go into it too much. But there's an element of that became one of my bugbears with the film, and it ties into a wider point, which was the supernatural elements for me let the film down. And when I say let the film down, I still thought it was very, very, very good.
Very, 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 very good.
Very, very, very good. Multiple verys, but good.
It's still not great.
No, it is great. I thought that the pacing was a bit off.
I was going to go into writing after the music because I thought the music was the best thing we'd open on that. The writing was not good.
Well, what do you mean in terms of?
So there was the pacing. So the first hour is very expositional, very setting things up.
Okay,
Then it's a very abrupt shift of everything, not just like pace, but also theme and genre and everything.
Yeah, it switches up.
And then the film ends, and then it ends again, and then it ends again, and then it ends again.
Lots of endings. So personally, the things that I didn't dislike all of that. I actually really liked the expositional setup. I really enjoyed learning about the characters, the context of the town, as well as the kind of secondary and tertiary characters and their roles in the lives of the protagonists. So mainly Michael B. Jordan's Smoke and Stack. And I thought the setup, I thought it was chugging along very nicely until we get to the big, not climax, but the big event that it's leading towards. And then at that point, they set up the supernatural element. So you could argue that the supernaturalism wasn't really foreshadowed. However, I knew it was coming, so that was fine. You didn't, so that was interesting,
which was exciting.
And then I thought they were setting that up really nicely, and it's really only like I guess it's hard to say the third act because, as you said, there's a lot of endings. But like, let's say the third act of the main plot line.
Okay.
I felt like that kind of. There wasn't enough emphasis. If you're introducing supernatural, I thought it was a risk, and it was a brave decision given the film you're making. I thought it could have paid off very well, but for me, there just wasn't enough emphasis and thought put into it. And really, the whole supernatural plot line, the
conclusion of it.
Basically, I suppose the conclusion of it, but from the introduction to the kind of the culmination of the events, it seemed there was a point where it went from, they've set up something here, how are they going to get out of it? And then suddenly it was just a rush of events that, I mean, it was, for me, even hard to follow at certain points, just in visually. Again, not going into it too much.
I know what scene you're talking about, I think.
It became visually quite hard to follow. It seemed to be unnecessarily paced.
Yes.
Like they wanted to really stick to the runtime of like under 2 hours 20 or 2.5 hours. And looking back on it, one thing I noticed, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I could have had a longer film.
No way.
I could have had a longer film.
You could have got like a longer plot 8.2 where it was, was like the main one and just cut some of the other things out.
Maybe the end parts could have been cut.
I think it was a bit chaotic. And I think that you could have taken some of the chaos out and made the central bit and the supernatural bit, which really was central to it, longer.
Which is supposed to be the main bit, really.
But it kind of just felt like a very random appendix that took up the second half of most of the second half of the film.
You'd almost argue that the actual point, well, not the point, the themes of the film, that's fine. It can be set aside from the paranormal. But the actual reason we were watching was more around the relationships between characters rather than it seemed like a side plot that was shoehorned in for effect.
The vampires.
Kind of, yeah.
It kind of felt like everything was shoehorned in for effect, and there was no
But
the whole plot. The plot was really about opening a bar, and the vampires were just kind of part of it.
Yeah, but the music was great.
The music was
was great.
I feel like everybody in the world is just forgiving of like so much shit in this film.
It was cool, and it was funny.
It was so cool. And the music was incredible, but
performances really great.
Performances were great. I think this is one opinion I'm going to have that's going to upset a few people. I personally felt like the Michael B. Jordan characters and performances felt like a bit of a, not just a Shelby derivative, but like a sort of Fast and Furious 10-year-old me would have found it a hell of a lot fucking cooler than I was watching, and I was a bit like. It was a little bit derivative and a little bit off the shelf, the coolness that he was playing.
So I get where you're coming from. I disagree beyond the first like 30 seconds of their character. I was agreeing with you, but I really did think his performance
Maybe it was more character than performance.
I think that the trope of the twins being played by the same
gangster
person, and they're both
twins,
slightly different, and they've got
one wears red,
one's got a red hat, and one's got a blue hat. Well, I got past that very quickly because I was really enjoying his performance, and the longer the film went on, I thought he's doing a really great job. I gained a lot of respect for Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I think it's not a performance thing. I think it was a character thing for me, and a outfit thing as well.
But but added to that, the outfit,
like a costume,
fair enough.
Problem.
But added to it, it was actually quite a cool dynamic when you learnt more about the characters, like the twin element of it. That being a defining kind of characteristic, two parts of one whole, and their rep around the Mississippian town. It was cool.
It was cool. I think characters and music were really the strongest things in this whole film. I personally think that people are very, very forgiving of a lot of the writing issues. And one of the biggest ones that stood out to me was with all the kind of random elements that were coming in and out, what at least is, you could maybe correct me if I've misunderstood this, but it seemed like, I suppose this is kind of spoiler actually, they were setting up a problem with their history from Chicago and the gangs involved there.
Yes, okay.
And then that didn't go anywhere. They set up a whole thing with the Native Americans being like out to help with vampires, and then that didn't go anywhere.
I remember.
And then at the end, when they could have dealt with those problems, they then went and killed a random bunch of white guys. Where it was just a bit like, well, like this wasn't relevant to the plot.
No,
earlier.
that one, that
you could have concluded the other two.
I'll forgive them somewhat because they did. Okay, you did spoil that because you did such an all right job. I wouldn't say beautiful job.
But I didn't say always one.
You did a fine job. There's not many in the film.
There aren't any until the end when they just kill them for no reason.
So, all right. Spoilers aside, I'll try and go back.
It's completely irrelevant to the fucking plot anyway.
No,
like,
for sure.
It doesn't matter.
Look, I didn't. I had problems with that scene, but it wasn't so much what was happening in it.
No, it was just how irrelevant it was.
Well, that compared to the other 2 points, the history from Chicago. I was like, oh, for certain this will come back, and
it just doesn't.
And similarly, the Native American angle was, I guess, just there for some sort of, some
representation, probably. I think,
or more like to give credence to the myths of the vampires, because it seems like a very. Oh, I tell you what would be interesting if we had some Native Americans because they're so spiritual. No, I was more thinking like, what's a stereotype we can think about Native Americans? Oh yeah. Maybe they know vampires. So, I think that I agreed on both those points. The whole white murder spree at the end was probably unnecessary. However,
it was a good opportunity
with the territory of what we were watching.
I don't mind. I just felt like it was such a wasted opportunity to deal with the other problems.
Some of the other parts.
But I do think that, like, what I'm learning is that most people you've said this before, the ends justify the means, right? And I think the music really helps with something like this, where everyone's kind of willing to look past what is ultimately bad writing.
Yeah.
If it's fucking awesome. Like, if it's just so much fun to watch and the music is incredible and the performances are just ridiculously good and the characters are awesome. Like, okay, so the plot could have been written on several different napkins and then jumbled up, and and then the editor could have kept one eye closed whilst he did it. And,
but I tell you what, I bet there's a great director's cut of it.
Yeah, there's
probably some great. There's probably some great deleted scenes.
You probably have 3 films.
There's probably some some Mick and some Wop at the end. Just
they might have more
where
endings.
Are these boys? I don't know. Oh, you're seeing a smock and a stack.
But I do think I kind of side with everyone on it a little bit. It's like they're not willing to acknowledge that it's not actually in terms of the integrity, the quality of the underlying things. It's not that good, but I fucking loved it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and if we can get a bit meta here, one thing that I'm trying to move away from is just nitpicking. Because we have to try and quantify our feelings about certain things. And a lot of that, then what you end up doing is being like, here's a little problem that I have with this. Yeah. And so I generally came out of it, but really enjoyed the film. And so I wanted to make sure that I appreciated that before looking back. And your first port of call should be, did you like it? Yes.
Which was the first score.
Yes. And so beyond that, there were more problems. I've seen a couple of things. This is the first in a while where I've thought, I'll actually look at some of the feedback that other people are giving it. And I have been surprised by how overwhelmingly positive it is.
Overwhelmingly.
And not audience-wise, I'm not surprised. Like it's a really great kind of blockbuster sort of film.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, but critically, I'm surprised it's as well received as it has been.
Yes.
I think it probably shouldn't be quite that well received, but still very enjoyable.
But it's still very enjoyable. Was there anything else that you wanted to add before we move into the main eye machine?
No, I'm excited to... I'm excited to go into the eat some garlic.
Oh, I had one other comment, sorry, before we quickly go.
Yeah.
With all the complete fucking chaos, but still fun, did at any point you feel a little bit like you were watching Trap again?
A little trap vibe.
I kind of got like trap energy
bit
from
of
it.
Trap energy.
M. Night Shyamalan, we did it a few episodes ago.
It's better than Trap.
It's way better than Trap. But I was just watching
the music as well.
This is fucking chaos.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of here for it.
Yeah.
Even though, like, they create problems and then just don't deal with them.
It flew by. That's what I said. It flew by. Like
it was
Trap.
like Trap. It was just like Trap.
I've been here for 4 hours. When at the end of it, we're like, wow.
So, anyway, sorry to diverge. So, we're going to go into the main eye machine. We're going to, what we're going to do for it?
We're going to roll down
the cash register.
We're going to rob some banks. We're going to sing some blues, probably like a G7 chord. That sounds like quite bluesy. Or maybe
nip to Chicago.
Nip to
get a score.
Chicago, then down to Mississippi, and then go to a big hootenanny in a barn with some...
And then vampires
will show up?
Yeah. And we'll come back with a score which, as everybody knows,
and our eyes will be red.
Get the fucking garlic away from it! Invite me in.
Let me in. Hey, baby.
Okay, so we're back from the main eye machine. We have found out what the correct score is for this film because everyone's been asking. Mates. Out of 10,
people want to know.
To 2 decimal places.
2? Very nice.
Sinners, 2025, universally loved, but was it good? Out of 10, 7.23.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be higher.
I thought it was going to be higher. We gave it very, very, very high for performance. It was one of the only 10s that we've given in a long time.
Sound. Did we do sound?
Yeah. No.
Because we did.
Everyone back into the main eye machine. Okay, sound.
10.
We're back in the main machine. Okay, so we've done it again.
How many times have you done that before?
No comment. So we've been back and forth. We've conferred with the main eye machine once again.
Had a false positive.
We've got the actual correct score.
Yeah, I've got
7.79 out of 10.
That's more what I thought.
Okay, so
it's quite the jump.
Listen, right. It is so much fun. This film.
Really, very, very, very good.
Very, 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 it is. It's complete and utter fucking chaos, to be honest with you. Writing wise, it's all over the place. There were some derivative elements, and yet somehow it was just awesome, and it will be remembered, and I will remember it.
Very, very fair point, isn't it? That we kind of brought in on the impact. We discussed the impact. Well, the machine told us about the impact, and it suspects that it will be well remembered over time. And I think that's...
People will reminisce about it when they're like, like in 2050, they'll be like, remember the films of the 20s?
That crazy film, Sinners.
Yeah, Sinners.
Like
oh my God.
Vampire musical with blues and racism.
The second ever IMAX R-rated film.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what they'll be saying.
No, they will. Do you remember? No one remembers the first one, but everyone knows the
It's
second
called
one.
No, but it came out in 2024. So, 7.79. Yeah, honestly, it was just such a romp to watch this film. The performances were incredible.
It was a big time romp. I haven't heard that word in a while.
The sound was just breathtaking. It's going to be remembered. But yeah, narratively, it was completely all over the place. And
So
we loved it to bits. I would recommend it.
Very, 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 very good.
Tune in to your favorite podcast platforms if you want to hear what happens in the Main Eye Machine. Tune in if you want to hear some trivia, which I've got to deliver in the next 17 minutes.
Yes, I'm excited.
See you on the other side. Trivia. So we have done our Sinners review. We're back. We're full-blown spoilers. If you're listening on the podcast platform. So you've heard everything that we've had to say. One thing that we mentioned in the Main Eye Machine, but we were trying to be quick, and I just feel really bad for not mentioning. Holy shit, Miles Caton, first film, first performance, debut, and it was just ridiculous. He learned the guitar for this. His voice, I will never, ever forget his voice.
Yeah,
incredible.
Lovely.
Amazing job.
Yeah, he was top notch. Really was.
I'm just going to rattle off some trivia here.
Let's hear some.
If anything kind of comes to you, just fucking tell me. So I found one that you're going to absolutely love it.
Okay,
mate.
go on.
Ryan Coogler, the director, the author, explained in an interview that Remick, who was the original vampire, the Irish one, was partially inspired by the character Death in Puss in Boots 2.
Ah, wow. That's an interesting pull.
Noting both his eyes and his demeanour.
Yes, he did do the eyes. Demeanour as well. Kind of, because Death as well as Remick are kind of charming.
Disarmingly sort of friendly.
And not necessarily totally evil.
Yeah.
Although what they're doing...
They have a cause, and a good bad guy should.
And that's actually one thing on the plot as well, just to kick it while it's down.
Yeah, fuck the plot.
The end credit sequence.
Yes.
Does
the
make me
3.0.
question, like, the whole... Like, the fact that the two, like, Stack and Haley Reinfeld's character, I can't remember, they... were fine, actually. They were actually good.
Oh, yeah. Were they not supposed to be or something?
Well, obviously, when they got turned into vampires, they were trying to kill everyone or trying to bring them all on side. And then right at the end, when Annie dies, they get really upset. And then he has a fight with his brother. His brother says never go after Preacher Boy.
Because he's got a good voice.
And he never does. But then they're just kind of pretty sound now. Like,
so the explanation that people tried to give was because the leader guy was kind of who got killed, Remick. Yeah. When he died, they became autonomous or something.
They basically were freed. Okay.
Yeah, but it further demonstrates how poorly written this film is. So, the working title of the film originally was Grilled Cheese. Ryan Coogler explained it by saying that while his previous films are comparable to cooking complicated dishes, Sinners is more of a simple, enjoyable dish anyone can enjoy.
Oh, fair enough.
I didn't verify that fact, but fuck me, it's a good one. True. I don't think he should have called it Grilled Cheese. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
But working titles, so I think working titles are more just like a placeholder name.
Well, but he still was working with grilled cheese.
For instance, I've got a good example. It's actually a good crossover here. So, are you familiar with the Beatles song Yesterday?
I am, yes.
You are, aren't you? Maybe some of our listeners are as well. The working title for that was Scrambled Eggs.
Right, okay.
Paul McCartney had the melody. He spent a lot, like he was writing that song for ages.
Scrambled eggs.
Oh, my baby, how I love your legs.
Fuck.
That's the lyrics that they had.
Makes you wonder how many terrible songs out there just needed a title change.
I think the next line is, just as much as I love scrambled eggs.
Oh my God.
So they knew, he worked out that the melody was actually not copyrighted. Sorry, it was not plagiarized.
Yeah.
And then they finally worked on the lyrics. Carry on.
So, working titles, something I've learned there. This is the second R-rated horror film to be shot in IMAX after Nope 2022.
Nice.
I said 2024 earlier.
You
but
twat.
I'm sorry. You're going to do fire me. Christopher Nolan and his producing partner / wife, Emma Thomas, assisted Ryan Coogler in shooting with 65mm film. Because it's very challenging to shoot with IMAX. It makes a hell of a lot of noise. I don't know if you know that. Really, really noisy. Yeah, it's just like this big ass machine.
That's why they did a vampire film.
Yeah, exactly. But dialogue, really, really difficult to shoot with IMAX because it makes such a racket doing the shooting.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you need proper sound engineers.
I imagine that's something that they will fix. Like,
You'd expect so. But IMAX is quite
issue.
old. It's been where it's like it's only been like major in cinema for X amount of time, but it was made ages ago, and it seems not to have been innovated. Michael B. Jordan admitted he was never a horror movie fan, which motivated him to dive into the film. I wanted to do this partially trying to help take the edge off a little bit. I was like, maybe if I know how it's done and I'm in it, I might like horror movies a bit more, he says. I do like them a lot more. I just want to say that. Does it sound to you like he is a complete pussy?
Yes.
Because I read that and I was like, he's just universally afraid of horror films.
He's basically said he doesn't like scary films, which it's all right, Michael.
He's a fucking adult. Grow up. Was this film scary?
I didn't really consider it a horror.
It wasn't scary.
No. So for me, a horror at least is trying to scare you.
Yeah.
Whereas for this, it was more a case of there was a supernatural element.
There were points where I was trying to figure out if it was trying to be funny.
Yeah, I mean, and the villains were funny at certain points, weren't they?
So, yeah, Michael B. Jordan, toughen up a bit, mate. It's a movie. You're a grown-up.
And also, you're ugly.
He's an incredibly handsome man. I'm very jealous. I'm trying to take him down a peg. I'm stuck inside the building now. Oh, yeah, this was something I noticed.
Okay. So trivia can be subjective.
Yeah. No, but nobody pointed this out. Right. So Stack and Smoke.
Smoke wore blue.
End of fact. The one that turned into a vampire, which
Stack.
would be Stack.
Yeah.
So he survives. And
Yeah.
the reason that he survives is because the sun comes up and he's inside the building, correct? So he doesn't get killed by the sun.
Yeah, okay.
The we shoot down, whatever you'd fucking call that, with the KKK, takes place the same day, correct? You can see him covered in blood, rolling a cigarette, waiting for him.
Presumably, yes.
So whilst the shoot-off with the KKK was happening inside, presumably Smoke or Stack, the dead one, the vampire one, was alive and well. Chilling. Inside the building, just waiting for the whole thing to blow over.
That's a very interesting point. That is cool.
And nobody seems to have pointed that out. And I was like, he's probably just loitering, waiting for probably with Haley Steinfeld's character.
Well, she ran off into the woods. Oh. I think that was for certain something that did happen.
Well, there you go. Anyway, so yeah, there you go.
That is very interesting. Whilst we're on the shootout,
the random one,
which he had a good thing going, didn't he? Like in his position shooting them,
and then he just gave up cover.
Decided to like walk in front of them, and also had he prepared that little hole in the ground with more guns just before they'd arrived, or had they had that there for a while? Because if he had spent that long preparing that hole,
we got 2 hours. He's like, I know what I'm gonna do.
So he's like, I am going to walk into this so that I can pick up a hidden gun in a compartment that I've spent 4 hours making in the ground.
If you've not watched it, he waits for the KKK to come to kill him, basically.
Finds cover.
Finds out that they had this plan. Finds cover with a sniper and just starts raining hell on them.
It's like some rifle. It was like some semi-automatic. He was like butchering them with it. It was incredible. From a distance.
And it didn't look like his bullets ran out.
No.
Or anything.
They weren't all dead. They weren't all dead. They were just, he'd got a lot of them, but they regrouped. They had guns.
5 out of 20? Maybe 4 out of 20? And so his solution was to stand up from his cover.
Yes.
Walk out into non-cover, into the open, and then go digging for a gun that he'd buried earlier.
He must have buried in the lead up to this, which he buried...
Like on the not way. In cover.
He didn't just keep the gun with him as his secondary option. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is just testament
Presumably
to...
because it looked cool, which
It
did. I don't know, because I spent a lot of the immediately when it happened,
right.
I thought, why did
You're
he do
an
that?
idiot! Yeah, okay, no,
So
fair
maybe
enough.
someone needs to explain that to me, because that's one of those things where it's so inexplicable that I think I must not be thinking of something.
And maybe that's the idea, is you would have been one of the victims who fell for it because you'd have been so bewildered.
They probably had people behind him expecting him to keep his guns that were there, but no,
Holy
he's
shit,
moved.
I wasn't expecting him to just walk out and start digging. So anyway, there you go. Remic's backstory. There's been a bit of fan theory around this. One of the things that Remick says during the film is that his father was killed by missionaries who came preaching the Lord's Prayer, which would seem to suggest that he turned during the Christian colonization of Ireland because of that comment that he made, which took place in the 5th century AD, which would make him 1600 years old.
That is very interesting. I suspected, obviously, he's Irish with his,
Accent?
his accent was American, but he did do an Irish accent at one point just for effects. But he was American accent, and then he did Irish songs, and obviously the Lord's Prayer scene, he did an Irish accent. Jack O'Connell presumably has some Irish ancestry with his surname. Very interesting that it is that long ago, and I'm sure I had a follow-up point to that, but I can't think of it. So,
well, he survived 1600 years, and then he was killed in our film. So there you go. I feel honoured. Wonder how many people he'd killed before the film. 1600 years is a long time to be a vampire.
It's a very long time, and did you get the sense like his death itself? Yeah, it had a bit more oomph to it, didn't it? Like he properly...
yeah, he went full blown.
So it's hard to work out if maybe he was...
He went from vampire to glampire.
Ooh.
It was a big show on the way out. Choctaw, which were the Native American people.
That was what I was going to say.
Go on then.
What was the backstory there?
I wasn't going to give you one, but what I can tell you is that historically, Choctaw and the Irish people were friendly. I don't know if you're aware of this, but during the potato famine, the Choctaw people sent hundreds of dollars to the Irish to help them out, which was all they had.
Yeah, okay.
And it was a real sign of generosity, so much so that in 2020, when COVID hit, the Choctaws were hit really, really badly by COVID, and the Irish government sent them £2 million as a sort of recognition of
that's cool. That is that's quality. I like that a lot.
Cool, isn't it?
Now, again, issue with the plot. So
it's such a bad plot.
So Remick was in their custody in daylight. They managed to inexplicably lose him.
Oh yeah.
And when he appears burning from the sun.
Yeah.
Where has he come from? They're obviously miles behind.
They were in a field, weren't they?
They must have been a far way away because he's been in the safety of he's got the sanctuary first. However, was he burning all the way? Does he die in the sunlight, or can he survive the sunlight and needs a stake in him as well? Is that why he wasn't dead?
I think the thing with films like this and Trap is it doesn't fucking matter.
It was very
because it's awesome.
It was very Trap of them.
The explanation is it's awesome. Shut up.
Fair enough. He went to the M. Night Shyamalan school of sometimes they'll explain kind of insignificant plot points, but then leave gaping holes all the way throughout.
There you go. So it was a bad one, but hey ho.
Okay, there you go.
Right, this is a bit of a longer one, but it kind of goes to explain the thought behind the two-parter. So Ryan Coogler says he had the American heavy metal band Metallica on his mind when he was laying out the story's rhythms and beats. I wanted to make the movie so that it had a simplicity and simultaneously the profound nature of a Delta blues song. But I wanted it to have the contrast, variation, and the inevitability of a great Metallica song like One. He says, One is a signature song from the band's 1988 album, And Justice for All. It starts off with almost like an easy listening solo, you know what I'm saying, and then it goes completely batshit insane in a way you could have never seen coming, and at the same time, it felt like it was going to be there all along. So that was his justification for why it was such a disjointed thing.
The whole film was based on a song.
more the beats, the rhythm of the film, the fact that it's kind of got this very hard turn from like a sort of start to like a second part.
To that interesting point, I would say there's a reason why there's more famous Metallica songs.
Yeah, that's a fair point, yeah. It didn't work. It was a terrible justification.
It's more like,
I wanted to do it like this because there was just like one song.
there's a
in
song
the
which
80s.
is also inexplicably shit.
Okay, and on that bombshell,
So it's obviously like a very, very, very good film, as we've determined. But
we loved it, but it was
interesting justification
great
to
fun.
pull out that song.
I just don't understand how this can do so well and Trap not, because they both just got the exact same energy.
It was better than Trap.
Trap needed a better soundtrack. That's all it is.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will see you on the next
It
one.
was a fun one. I enjoyed that a lot.
Cheers, guys.